All right. What a great gig. Got through.
Let's do another one.
I don't know any more songs. We played them all.
Come on, man. Let's do something that really cool.
I just told you I don't know any more songs. That is all I have.
All right, guys, listen to this blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
What does that even mean? What are you doing? Looks familiar? Scenes like this are playing out all across the music scene. And you could be next. That is, unless you make the most important decision of your life. Learn music theory! Or at least learn theory well enough to get paid. Like, that's the title of the video. That's maybe why you clicked on this, because you want to get paid. We all want to get paid. Shit's more expensive. I would know, I made the video on it. There are a lot of wrong ideas floating around about music theory, and I just want to dispel a few of those right now. It's not going to hamper your creativity, it's not too hard, it's not boring, and it's not just for classical musicians, right? Everybody can benefit from knowing a little bit of music theory. Simply put, music theory is just the way that we describe music. It makes communicating musical ideas a lot easier, and it also helps you understand and conceptualize musical concepts better. I talked a little bit about this on the 40 Watt podcast I was on recently, but having more terms for things changes the way that you are able to perceive them. For example, there are some scientific papers out there that describe languages that don't have terms for certain colors, and therefore speakers of that language simply don't perceive them at all. So music theory gives you a way to understand what you're playing and what you're hearing in a more organized and precise way so that you can communicate better with other musicians, including with yourself. So let's start at the very beginning with note names.
The name game, Judy.
To start, you'll want to learn all of the names of the notes across every string all over the fretboard. Corey Wong recently said, maybe somewhat controversially, that you can't really consider yourself an advanced guitar player unless you have this knowledge on lock.
Gentle call out to the folks that consider themselves advanced guitarists. If you can't do this exercise, I would not consider you an advanced guitarist. Why? Because you should know where all the notes are on the guitar. Note location. Can you play me a C on every string?
And I'm really inclined to agree with him. This is a fundamental skill and something that you need to have before you can move on to other concepts in music theory. The faster you know which notes you're playing, the better off you'll be. Now, memorizing every single note across the entire fretboard and on every single string might seem like a lot, but let's just start small, starting with the 4 that you probably already know. E, A, D, G, the 4 open strings. In Western music theory, everything is built around 12 notes. It starts at A and then goes to G before it starts over, and then there's some random sharps and flats thrown in the middle there. And this might seem like a jumbled, chaotic mess on a bass guitar, but if you lay it out on a piano, it makes a lot more sense. All the white keys are the notes, and the sharps and flats are all the black keys. I should probably explain sharps and flats. These are just modifiers that you'll see before a note that tell you to go either up or down a half step. Sharps go up a half step, flats go down a half step. Now you might notice that notes are given both a sharp and a flat name, and the name that they get is kind of just dependent on the context you're in, like what key you play in, and we're not going to get into that in this video. Just know that if you have an A and you have an A sharp, it goes up, and if you go B and B flat, A sharp and B flat are the same note. Or the same pitch, rather. They're different notes, technically. Don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about it. What I found really helpful in committing to memory all of these notes was to have some reference points and understanding some of the patterns that are here. Now, I mentioned you should probably know the open notes, E, A, D, G. You can use a mnemonic device if you want. Those were never helpful for me, but maybe they'll be helpful for you. But you should also know that the pattern repeats on the 5th fret from the next string over. So for example, E string, go up to the 5th fret, that's an A, which is the next string over's open string, A. Same thing here, this is a D, 5th fret on the A string, D is our next open note. So that continues all the way up on a bass. Also works in reverse from the 7th fret. So the 7th fret on the A string is an E, which is the same as our open note here, just an octave up. That's an A here, 7th fret on the D string, same as our open note there, etc., etc. Another pattern that you're going to want to be aware of is octaves. So anytime you play a note, if you go over 2 strings and up 2 frets, that is the same note an octave up. So these are both Gs. 3rd fret on the E string and 5th fret on the D string. Now don't feel like you have to tackle the entire fretboard at once. I feel like if you just get those first 5 frets, the rest of it'll come much easier. And you're gonna be spending most of your time down here anyway. They call this the cash register because that's where you make your money. But yeah, focus on this part of the fretboard and you'll do just fine. A really great practice you can do to start memorizing the note names is to say them out loud as you're playing them. So for example, you could say, as you're playing a scale, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Your brain works best when it's making connections or neural pathways, and so reinforcing what you're playing with what you're saying is a way to make that connection in a way that really helps you remember stuff. Another tool that you can use is musictheory.net. This is a fantastic theory resource in general, but they have a fretboard note identification quiz you can take. You just have to use the cog in the top right to change it to bass, and then you can grill yourself for as long as you want. Combine this quiz with playing the actual note on your bass and saying it out loud, and you'll learn this stuff in no time. 5 or 10 minutes every day as you start your practice session. It'll be a great warm-up, and just doing a little bit every day is the way to go instead of just trying to cram it in all at once. At any rate, anything we do from a theory perspective relies pretty heavily on knowing where the notes are, but as you work on this, we can start adding the next phase.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Oh, let's see if I can make it easier.
Scales are basically just groupings of notes in a sequence, and there are lots of different kinds of scales. Fortunately, you can get away with about 2, and so let's learn both of those. Let's start with the major scale, since that's the most foundational and common one that you'll use. You might see it represented on the fretboard like this, which looks intimidating, but let's just start from the bottom or the lowest pitched note and then go up one at a time until we hit the top. I like to do this 1 finger per fret, just shifting back and forth as necessary, but basically we'll just go G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, and then back down. G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G. The shape of this scale is one that you can move anywhere on the fretboard, and the note that you start on for your scale is going to be the name of it. So for example, the one we just played started on a G, so this is a G major scale. We can move that same shape all the way up here to our E and play that same shape, and this is an E major scale. If you really want to combine the first phase with this phase, just say all the names out loud as you play the scale, just like how I did in that first example. The other scale shape you want to know is the minor pentatonic scale. This one is actually even simpler because it has fewer notes, 5, pentatonic, penta, 5, get it? You get it. But same rules apply here. The bottom note, or the first note that we play in the scale, is the name of the scale, so this would be an A minor pentatonic, starting on A, going to the C, D, E, G, A. And just like our other scale, we can move that shape anywhere we want. We can put it all the way up here. One convention that you want to be aware of is that major is considered the default. So if somebody tells you that you're playing in the key of B, you can assume that they mean B major, because if they meant B minor, they would say B minor. By the way, if it feels like I'm moving really fast, it's because I kind of am, and so if stuff doesn't make sense the first time around, don't hesitate to pause the video, rewind it, watch it again, pause the video, rewind it, watch it again, slow it down. These are all things that you can do in the YouTube player here, so make use of that, because you're going to want to have a pretty firm grasp on the note names and the scales as we go into the third and final concept that I'll be discussing in... Wait, wrong.
Goes like this, the 4th, the 5th.
Are you ready to put it all together? Because this is the point where we can use all the knowledge we've gained up to this point to make actual bass lines and chord progressions and make music. Let's see if we can tackle Johnny Be Good from the intro. Marty turns to the band and says,
All right, guys, listen to this blues riff from B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
So let's start by finding B on the fretboard. That's our first piece of information. That's going to be the key or the center of the song. So B is our 2nd fret on the A string here. Now he doesn't say major or minor, but remember, because he doesn't specify, we can assume it means major. The blues riff that he asks for is actually a very specific chord progression, sometimes called a 12-bar blues, and it is a staple of the blues tradition. I'm certain that you've heard it before. It's been in a million songs, so I'm sure you'll understand the structure of it, but if we were to represent it visually, it would look something like this. Wait, so what do these Roman numerals mean? Well, those are telling us what chords to play. In case you need a quick little refresher on Roman numerals, here's a little conversion chart. But for our chord chart, it looks like we've only got a 1, a 4, and a 5. And the way that we tie that back to our fretboard is by counting up in the scale. So if we count up as we play our major scale from the B, 1, 2, 3, 4 is right there, and 5 is right here. So our 1, 4, 5, 12-bar blues progression is B, E, F sharp. We can describe a lot of chord progressions in this way. You might have heard of like a 2-5-1, so in B that would be 2, 5, 1. Very common like ending to jazz songs. Or you can get really crazy with it and say like 1, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1. Like any of those works, but it's just the way that we describe the root of those chords. There is so much more to this if you play an instrument that plays chords, like piano or guitar, but fortunately for bass, it's very simple, and most of the time you just care about the root and nothing else. But while you can get away with just playing roots, you can leverage the scale information that we already have to create walking bass lines. The scales that we use from each of those chords basically tell us all the notes that are going to sound right with those chords. So for example, if we have a B major chord happening, we can just play the B major scale and all of those notes will work. Now to make your bass lines more interesting, you don't want to just play the scales, you want to, skip some of the notes in there or approach the roots from different directions. Basically just get creative with it. What I found is that you can basically get away with anything in that scale, or even just any note in general, as long as you are hitting the right note on the 1. Which we should talk a little bit about rhythm here. Rhythm is basically just how we keep track of timing in music. And a lot of music is broken up into counts of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If we go back to our 12-bar blues example, each one of these blocks represents a bar or a measure of 4 counts. So essentially in this structure you'll be counting to 4 12 times before the pattern repeats itself. One really common thing you'll see in this style of music is just playing one note per beat. So those are quarter notes because we're dividing it into 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat. If you did twice as many notes in there, they would be 8 notes per grouping, which would make the notes that you're playing 8th notes, and so on, etc. And with that, you have all the information that you need, not to just play a song described to you by a time-traveling teenager, but to also jam and improvise in a lot of different contexts. In fact, I just sat in with the Will Baxter Band for a 3-hour gig playing music that I didn't practice for, and in a lot of cases had never heard before. Will would just lean over to me, tell me the key of the song and some basic changes, and make corrections as we went, and that's how we did the entire gig. Check this out.
Hey, we got Will Baxter here on the guitar and lead vocal.
Hey, buddy.
In a rugby shirt.
It's a weekday. You're going with casual.
Yeah, all right.
Daddy moan. Yeah, sweet mama, make your daddy moan. Got what it takes just to make this house a home.
Making music this way can be really intimidating at first, but it eventually becomes very natural. There's a really good chance that if you live in a medium or big-sized city, that there is a blues jam that happens every week somewhere. And if you understand all the things I've talked about in this video, you can absolutely show up and hang. I highly recommend just going and checking it out the first time, just see what the vibes are like before you jump in, but these can be a great way to network with other musicians, get practice playing in public, and just be part of your local music community. If you've ever played at a blues jam before, or you do at some point after I've published this video, I would love to see it. If you post it on socials, you can tag me, AMP the bass player. I'm that pretty much everywhere, or send it to me, like whatever you want to do. I would love to see you guys playing music. Now, what we've done in this video has all been in service of improving your ability to improvise, but another really good practice is broadening your repertoire, learning as many songs as you can. That's probably a topic for another video. Play Your Own Bassline #1 is still going. I'm still collecting submissions, and let me just say that I have been thrilled with the community response. Like, I'm just so glad that everyone's been so enthusiastic and supportive of this challenge, and it's really been great seeing how creative you guys have been in the submissions I've gotten so far. If you'd like to participate in my monthly bassline challenge, then just head over to my Patreon and sign up. However, this is not a paid thing. You can do this absolutely for free, and I would love to have many more of you sign up for this. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you on the next one. AMP!